55 stručnih tehnoloških časopisa iz 29 zemalja iz cijelog svijeta udruženi su već 35 godina u organizaciju koja se zove EISA i koja svake godine dodjeljuje čuveni EISA Award, najugledniju svjetsku nagradu za izvrsnost elektroničkih proizvoda iz segmenta Hi-Fia, kućnog videa, kućnog audija, mobilnih uređaja, foto opreme i audio opreme za automobile. Gledate Tech Radar, ja sam Dragan Petric, a o tome kako se testiraju najbolji elektronički uređaji na svijetu i kako EISA odlučuje koji su zaista najbolji, danas će nam pričati predsjednik EISA-e Paul Miller, direktor izdanja premium Hi-Fi časopisa iz Velike Britanije i SAD-a, te potpredsjednik EISA-e Ljubiša Miodragović, glavni urednik beogradskog časopisa Hi-Files. Welcome to Zagreb, guys. Since I have both president and vice president of EISA here in my studio, I'll let you introduce each other. Ljuba, please tell me, who is Mr. Paul Miller?
Mr. Paul Miller was the idol of all of us who were, when I was starting my magazine 15 years ago, he was the editor of most respectable magazine Hi-Fi News, and then his publishing house grew. They bought several different titles, and now I've been working with him for the last 3 years, I think, at the position of the vice president. So he was the one, I would say, the leading force now in EISA to make the organization global and to make necessary changes and adaptations to what we have witnessed in the past years.
Cool, thank you. Paul, this is not your first visit to Croatia, but it is your first visit to Zagreb, am I right?
Absolutely, Dragan, and thank you for inviting me. Very impressed with the new airport. Would you like to say a few words about Ljuba?
Yes, I'd like you to introduce Ljuba.
Okay, so Ljuba is the vice president of EISA, and he's the proprietor and editor of Hi-Files magazine in Serbia. And you run a hi-fi show as well, don't you?
Yes, for the last
Belgrade.
10 years. Yes.
Yeah. Cool. And you're a member for 10 years in EISA.
Yeah.
Cool. Before we go on, let's just see a short video about what EISA is.
The unique association of over 55 special interest magazines. They deal with subjects as wide as hi-fi, as home theatre audio, home theatre video, mobile devices, photographic and in-car equipment. EISA is the longest standing association of its kind. It's over 35 years old. Every year we award over 55 products that are the best in their class. The judging process is lengthy. Part of that process is here at the convention, where we have over 65 international journalists assembled to look at a wide variety of equipment. While EISA began principally as a European organisation, it's recently expanded its reach and become truly global. At this year's convention, we have 28 individual presentations that take place over a period of 4 days. While our member magazines and websites independently test the equipment as part of the awards process, one of the other key parts of the convention is the networking opportunities that it presents, and none more so than in the evening when we have the official EISA dinner. So why should you look out for the EISA logo? Because when you see that logo, that product is the best in class. And all these products are the best in their class because the judgment is arrived at based on the experience of 55 independent magazines and websites from around the globe. So EISA is growing. EISA was fundamentally a European organisation, but no longer. We now have members from Canada, we have members from the USA, from Australia and India, and new members joining us soon from Japan, Hong Kong and China. So this is a whole new market for EISA, and it's our ambition to extend the EISA Awards and the EISA Award logo across the globe. So whatever country you come from, every year you can discover those products that are genuinely the best in class.
So, as we learned from this video, Paul, EISA was a European association for decades, but since you became president, it went global. How so? Why so?
Why? Well, it was a necessary move, Dragan. All the brands that we work with, all the awards that we offer, they are necessarily global. The products are global, the brands operate globally, and if you're passionate about your smartphones in Europe, then there's people who are passionate about their smartphones and other consumer electronics products in Australia, in America, in Japan. And it's important to kind of embrace that global community and to reach out, which is exactly what we've done in the last year or so.
So besides Europe, which countries do we have?
So now we have Canada, we have America, we have India, we have Hong Kong, China, Japan and Australia.
Okay, so you are handing out the most trustworthy awards for consumer electronic products in the world once a year, and this is basically why EISA exists. What type of products do you award?
Well, it's all consumer electronics, so it ranges from very specialized products in-car, for example, and mobile electronics, photographic products, home theater audio and video, and of course all hi-fi products as well.
Okay, when do you announce the awards?
The awards are announced on August the 15th, but the process to get to the awards, it takes a lot longer than that.
Okay, why is it in August?
Why in August? Because there's a very good question. A lot of the brands, if it's TV or it's photo or other consumer electronics, they are launched at different times during the year. But for us to announce in the middle of August is convenient because EISA, which is the largest consumer-facing electronics show in Europe, is around the end of August. So we announce just before then.
And we have Gala award ceremony,
have,
as you can see on the photos. So Ljuba, if you were asked to name top 3 reasons why someone who is buying new electronic equipment should consider EISA award as a recommendation, what would you say they are?
I would give them actually one good reason. It's our credibility, because we've been on the market, recognized since 1982. When we given the first award for the best camera of the year, and then the number of the awards grew, and that's the thing that we don't make quick choices. The whole process of nomination of the awards and our internal voting, where it's quite extensive and quite thorough. So we don't do things like hands-on reviews. We're really going into in-depth, and the thing about EISA, as you mentioned, we have 55 different magazines, so everybody works in a different manner. But when we get together, we share those kind of experiences, and we can then make a really good choice.
Okay, so Paul, how do you decide on which magazine is credible enough to join EISA?
Well, if it's when we did our recent expansion, if it's hi-fi, personally, that's my field. So I know the publishers and editors of hi-fi magazines around the world. So that was really relatively easy. For the other titles, it's really a case of looking at their circulation, the credibility, as Ljuba says, of their publishing and their testing techniques, how up to date they are with their publishing and their reviews, and that's what we look at. It's all about the reach and the credibility of those titles.
Do you usually already know the publisher or the editor of the title?
Well, I say if it's hi-fi, I did. If it's the other brands, not necessarily. It depends on the size of the group. But the way that EISA works is that we only have one publisher, one magazine for every particular type of consumer electronics in each country. So you'll only have one hi-fi magazine from France, or one hi-fi magazine from Serbia or from the UK. And that's how it works. Okay,
so Ljuba says you get together once a year.
Yep.
When you have to decide on who will win the award, you discuss about the products that you've tested. But can you be a bit more specific? Is there a standardized procedure? How do you decide on who will win the award?
Well, it's a very long process, as Ljuba said. This is not done overnight. The process begins really probably the beginning of the year as new products become available. Brands will typically give it to our member magazines first for reviews. And then the key moment in the EISA calendar is the convention, which is in May. And that's when brands will come and present specifically to our different expert groups. And then following on 1 month after that is where we have our internal awards meeting. And then everyone gets together to discuss and share their individual results and opinions. And it's a democratic vote, basically, of what product wins what award.
Okay.
As your audience saw in the video, at the convention we get to see this. Sometimes we get to see prototypes. We get to see parts of electronic devices. So it's a very nice, good experience for all of us to see how new technologies work, what we can expect in the following year from the new products.
So both of you are hi-fi experts. Since I have you here in studio, Ljuba, I have to ask you about the pricing in hi-fi. Whenever I'm buying, I don't know, headphones, there are basically 3 categories when pricing is concerned. There are 10 euros headphones, then there is another category 150 to 300 euros, and then there is the third category for a few thousand euros. Is the difference that big?
Well, I always like to explain this as I was watching one of the Croatian televisions, and there was a fine gentleman explaining the difference between a bottle of wine that costs €5 and €50. Okay. So everybody can realize that kind of difference. Okay. But if you compare wine bottles of €50 and €500, it's a matter of taste, it's a matter of different kind of opinion. So it's the same thing with electronics. As you go higher, it doesn't mean that the product is 10 times better. You get certain type of, you get better technology, you maybe get some better packaging, you get better material. So when it comes to headphones, you have new technologies like noise cancellations, which was primarily used for the pilots. Now you can have them in a
cabin as a passenger?
Yeah, as a affordable technology.
Paul, is it the same with the speakers? Does the speaker which costs €10,000 actually sounds 100 times better than €100 speaker?
Typically not. No, this is something we call the law of diminishing returns.
Okay.
So that as you pay more, it doesn't necessarily mean that the quality improves proportionally. So there are some amazing loudspeakers at €100 and €500. There's amazing loudspeakers at 10,000 and above euros. But this is all, particularly with loudspeakers, it's a lot of materials technology. The more money that a company has to spend on a materials technology allows them to engineer a superior product by using very advanced materials in the design of the drive units and the magnets and the cabinets. So there's a scale of cost there. Okay.
Are you both audiophiles?
We're both audiophiles, yes.
This is a necessary condition to become a hi-fi expert reviewer.
Yeah, it's more kind of disease, right?
It's a vocation.
Okay. What is, Ljuba, your favorite type of music?
I listen to all kinds of music, but let's say rock and reggae. I listen to a lot of, let's say, domestic music, like Croatian and Serbian bands. Okay.
Paul, do you need to have a supernatural hearing to become a hi-fi expert?
No, I don't believe so. There's plenty of people I know who would, the hearing is not perfect in either ear. There's differences between left and right. There's a lot that's known, a lot that's unknown about how we hear and what's important. Experience, frankly, is what's more important.
Okay, so how do you test hi-fi products?
Well, personally, my magazine's here, Hi-Fi News in the UK and Stereophile in the US. We are part subjective, part objective, so we create what are called, the complete review, which is a reviewer's opinion, having lived with the product for a good period of time, comparing it with other products. But there's also backed up with a very comprehensive lab regime as well, with full technical measurements. And that's kind of investigative as well. The measurements are not just there to determine that it meets its specification from the manufacturer, but also allows us to do much more in-depth measurements and see how it will compare with other products.
Ljuba, EISA started more than 30 years ago as a photo magazine association, but today photo industry is defeated by the smartphone. So what do you expect from the photo industry in the future?
Well, last year I was at Photokina and I saw some brilliant cameras, mirrorless full-frame cameras, which are not that big anymore. They're more compact. They have better technology when it comes to wireless transfer of the data, of the photos. And I think that there is still a bright future for the photo industry. What is strange is that in hi-fi we had MP3 players, and smartphones, they didn't kill MP3 players. You still have external DA converters, you still have portable players, but it's strange how cameras were really affected by the smartphones.
Speaking about smartphones, interestingly, there is one Croatian company which has won the EISA awards 2 years in a row now. It's called Noah for Best Buy smartphone. Many people here in Croatia ask me, why did we award Noah among many other vendors who have pretty much the same phone for pretty much the same pricing? Can you explain that?
I wouldn't say that they're the same. They are similar. A lot of similarities. Well, what was, from my perspective, what was so interesting was that they offered premium care. So if you destroy your phone, if you drop it, they will replace it.
Even if it's your fault.
Even if it's your fault.
So this is what EISA valued as a great reason.
And they just started a few months ago. They came to Serbian market as well, and they offer the the same warranty. So that's quite exciting for our consumers.
So there's no other brand that's giving the same type
Not
of
that
warranty?
I know. There was some kind of insurances
Okay.
or partial insurances, but not this kind of very, very open-minded way of promoting their quality.
Okay. Paul, is print journalism dead?
That's a big question. I think in terms of mass media, newspapers, it's pretty tough.
Mm-hmm.
But I think in terms of our arena, which is niche publishing, and niche publishing within very specialized areas, then I think not. All of our paper magazines certainly embraced digital, and we publish digitally as well. But if you're producing relatively technical articles, very long features, that's not something that's easily read on a smartphone conveniently. So just as there's an analog revolution, vinyl is back being very popular, and people are starting to read books again as opposed to e-readers. So I think that there's certainly something to be said. There is a community out there that appreciates reading on paper. A decent length article, it's something you can sit back and read. This is not something that you skim through our magazines in 5 minutes. It's a value for money read, and I think with that offering, print media still has a good future in the specialist industry.
Are tech reviewers real journalists, Ljuba?
I think so. It's just a matter of their of what they want to present.
Okay.
Many times, tech journalists want to be the first one. They want to have 1 minute with a new smartphone to present it first on social media, and that's okay. I don't have a problem with that. Or they will shoot a video of unpacking a product. I think that more and more people ask for in-depth reviews. They want to read about it. If I go back to your previous question, fast food industry, they didn't kill restaurants, right?
Yeah.
So the same thing is that I think that in print media you will have in-depth reviews on maybe luxurious paper. So it will be like more niche, but at a higher quality. Not everybody wants to
And you can
eat
be
it.
sure that the reviewer had at least a week or two with
Yeah,
the device.
like in my magazine, we never do review under 1 or 2 weeks.
So Paul, are online reviews published the same day when the product was launched, so only 5 minutes after the reviewer had it in his hand, credible enough? Can we trust those reviews as well?
Well, I think it's how you define a review, Dragan. These are really just news pieces, and I think as far as the consumer is concerned, for them, the credibility is based on, I hope, the relationship they have with that particular media, with that particular journalist, that particular outlet.
So today there are so many PR articles, native advertising articles, paid reviews. We've seen that as well. How can a reader know if the review is really authentic, Ljuba?
Well, they have to read very carefully, I think, because I know in certain markets, like my market, a lot of my colleagues would hide that something is PR or something is promoted. We never done that in my magazine. If something is PR, we will announce that in a very clear way.
Okay.
So I think that reviewers, sorry, not the reviewers, but the readers, they have to be very careful. You know about all of the scandals about fake online reviews from the customers. So we have to be very careful.
So if the magazine that publishes the review is EISA member, we should trust it?
Absolutely. If we've done our checks and balances, and the members, the EISA member magazines, have been checked over by us. Absolutely.
Cool. Paul, Ljuba, thank you for being here. Thank you for coming to Zagreb.
Thank you very much.
Gledali ste Tech Radar, mi se ponovno vidimo za tjedan dana. Ostanite naravno uz program N1 televizije i uz Zbog HR portal.